We're going to hear more from CBC's Yvette Brand. We'll also be joined by a cryptocurrency expert on this. We'd like to hear from you as well. Have you tried buying cryptocurrency? What do you think of how it works, how the industry works? Do you think better safeguards are needed? Well, joining us to take your calls is a cryptocurrency expert and a former financial advisor. Bernie Doyle is the CEO of Refine Labs. He's the president of the Toronto chapter of the Government Blockchain Association. And good afternoon to you.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, thank you for taking our call. What strikes you most?
When it all began 10 years ago with an 8-page document by an unknown person named Satoshi Nakamoto, the idea was Bernie wants to send Michelle $20, and Michelle sends Bernie a box of cookies from Vancouver to Toronto. I found your cookies online, and I wanted to buy them. It's peer-to-peer, from me to you, a tunnel through the internet that I can send money directly to you. That's what the whole idea of it was. The concepts were called, it's disintermediated. So the original idea was, I can send money from one person to another at very low fees, and it's secure. From a healthy point of view, I used to be an investment advisor, and protection of the investors' funds is the top-level priority. And there's lots of checks and balances. North America has about 20 or 30 different regulatory bodies to help safeguard investors and their investments.
And we're joined by a cryptocurrency expert, Bernie Doyle, and asking you if you've had experience with cryptocurrency, what has that been like? Do you think better safeguards are needed? And Bernie, I'd like to just point out or put to you that last call that we had someone who says, the speculation is the problem, but using cryptocurrency has been very useful for him. And unfortunately, it's getting kind of a bad rap.
And it's interesting to consider because I've been face to face with the Ontario Securities Commission about this and asking them their opinions, and they're getting feedback from me. The Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is really an animal of a different stripe altogether. And the existing infrastructure from traditional finance, like the Buttonwood Agreement, down for the first New York Stock Exchange, like in the late 1700s, there's been a long history of developing a regulatory environment for centralized currencies. The idea of Bitcoin and this distributed ledger technology, it's all out there through this network of computers, it doesn't conform very well. It's operating within a completely different paradigm. So trying to bundle it up inside of existing regulations is practically an impossibility. Trying to bend existing regulations to work with it is proving to also be a failed approach. It's anomalous. As a member of the Government Blockchain Association, we field inquiries from all over the world. And there's a variety of fascinating things going on. So definitely the governments are looking at it because it represents a movement of value that's untraceable. So there are definitely very intelligent eyeballs on how does this work.
Bernie Doyle, what we've heard from her is she's someone who has had a positive experience, but as you have said, it would be very difficult to apply current regulations. How do you come up with new regulations? What do you think would work?
Well, here's a really interesting fact, is that the Bitcoin technology runs on what's called the blockchain. That's where the security is. And the Bitcoin blockchain has simply never been compromised. That means the very technology itself has never been hacked, or it's never suffered criminal attack. And so the very core technology itself is extremely competent and proven over 10 years. All of this other, this exchange collapsing, or this person losing their private keys, or somebody sending it to the wrong address, all of those losses, and they do claim that almost 25% of Bitcoin is lost because of the same reason of what happened with Mr. Cotton. That's all human error, and maybe not as studious of an attitude that a person should have. But the technology itself is 100% competent. And to speak to that lady's comments, it is a fantastic technology. it does have fantastic utility in the world and can serve many purposes for the transferring of value from one to another very economically and very safely. In a way, it doesn't need to be regulated. But what needs to be regulated is people's behavior or abuses of it. And in a way, the final point there would be buyer beware. Like, who are you dealing with? Why are you speculating? Maybe consult with a financial advisor before you take a super risky investment into this digital currency. But as a form of transferring money from one person to another, it's a brilliant system, and it works, and it's worked for 10 years.
Bernie Doyle, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle.
Bernie Doyle is the CEO of Refine Labs and the president of the Toronto chapter of the Government Blockchain Association.